Hello, my name is Richard Cave, and I'm a speech therapist working with the MND Association. In this video, I'm going to be showing you I Will Always Be Me, the new and quick way to voice bank. If you have any questions or comments at any time, please do get in touch with me at richard.cave@mndassociation.org. That's richard.cave@mndassociation.org, or my Twitter account, Speed of Trust 27. In this video, I recommend that you follow along with the demo when I start that, and you can use any web browser on any device to do that, and just by opening iwillalwaysbeme.com. So just as we start, here's a short briefing on what voice banking is and why it matters. So with voice banking, we create a personalized synthetic voice that can be used in a communication device if ever a person decides to use one. This is important because we know that more than 80% of people living with MND will lose the power of natural speech, and frequently within 6 months of diagnosis. Most people with MND will eventually use a device to communicate when talking becomes difficult. And these devices often have a generic synthesized voice that talks what you type into it. These voices don't really reflect anything about the person using the device, where they come from, how old they are, their cultural, social background. In fact, they reflect quite a different persona entirely. So with I Will Always Be Me, we are providing the opportunity to create a personalized synthetic voice that can be used in a communication device and can be made quickly and in a simple way before natural voice changes too much. So the goal of I Will Always Be Me is just to get the voice banking done. Easy, simple, not a big technical project, and voice bank with what you have. So you can usually, when I work with people living with MND, often we will get the voice banking done in 30 minutes or less. When I do the demo in a few minutes' time, I'll probably get it done in about 15 minutes. But with a few breaks, about half an hour is a realistic expectation for a person living with motor neuron disease. The voice banking with I Will Always Be Me can be done on pretty much any device, a smartphone, a tablet, laptop. So that could be an iPad, iPhone, Android smartphone, Samsung. It could be an Apple Mac, could be a Windows laptop, pretty much anything, just as long as it has a good microphone and access to Wi-Fi. Ideally, seeing as we're recording voice, it would be better to have a headset microphone connected via to the USB port, so that we have the best chance of recording voice optimally. But it's not mandatory. What is mandatory is to have a quiet environment with very little echo, that kind of thing. So it all matters. We want to make, if people decide to bank their voice, we want to make it very straightforward. So there's nothing, no account gets approved, nothing like that. Even when people type in their email address, the email address does not get validated either. So you might want to take care over that. And of course, this whole service is free for people living with motor neuron disease. And it's also free for professionals working with people with MND too. So I Will Always Be Me is not like some other voice banking services. You're invited to read a story. And the story is a about motor neuron disease. But it's not about motor neuron disease in a medical sense. It's more about how people are and how people feel. And the theme of the story is that on the outside, I may be changing. On the inside, I'm still me, and I still love you. And we spent the longest time working with people living with motor neuron this disease to ensure that the words around the story were right and appropriate. And we tested it for nearly a year with lots of different people. And not only that, the words are designed to be accessible for speakers and listeners, kind of young and old. And so people with MND have often said that reading this story, although it's a voice banking exercise, but reading this story has created an opportunity for them to share information about MND in a very accessible way, and indeed to start a conversation about it. And often when I help people with MND to voice bank with I Will Always Be Me, there never fails to be a conversation after the story has been read. And there's no problem other people being in the room when voice banking happens. In fact, it's encouraged just as long as they're quiet during the recording, because it's a very important message that is being shared here. And um, one person with MD said to me that actually this reading the story had been created an opportunity to talk about how they feel and how they are for the first time with family and loved ones, because he'd felt it was difficult to talk about. It was felt hard to share. And indeed, this feels quite familiar because often people with MND and people around them don't quite know what to say, what to do, don't want to kind of be a burden, don't want to say the wrong things about MND. And so often people don't say anything at all. And we know from the evidence base that social and work networks for people with MND often fall away as voice changes and as MND progresses. And just when people need those networks, they often are quite often quite weak, which is a shame. And I'm not blaming anybody, but one thing that helps is for everybody to understand better about what's actually happening. And this story that we're going to read, I think, does just that. And so the goal is to share information, build understanding, and to keep people together. I Will Always Be Me is an ebook. It's beautifully illustrated and it feels just like any other illustrated ebook that you've come across. Once the ebook has been read, about half an hour, the person can say, right, I'd like my voice back now, thanks. And that'll be done in about a day or so. But also the ebook itself can be saved and downloaded with the person's recorded voice. And it can be shared with anybody they like. And so it's literally the gift of voice, a gift of a person's voice to their loved ones, to anybody, before that voice may change or may be lost. And people with MND often say to me that they want to create positive memories, positive experiences while they still can, while things are not changing too much, and positive memories for their loved ones. And here is a beautiful opportunity to do exactly that, to share important message in a beautifully illustrated ebook to literally anybody. So once the story has been read, the person with MD can say, right, I want my voice bank now, and that will be created within a day. The voice bank will be available to them for an unlimited time. So they don't need to decide to use it. In fact, if they decide not to use it, that's absolutely fine. It's their decision, but it will always be available to them. And if they decide to use a communication device at some point in the future, they can use the voice bank with the main ones on Windows, Grid 3, Communicator 5, and it's also available with the free Speak Unique app on Apple, iPads, iPhones, and on Android phones and tablets. And there will be more apps coming soon, which this voice bank can be used with. So just to say, we are partnering with a company called Speak Unique, who create the voice banking technology. And therefore, what we're doing is ensuring that the technology we use for voice bank is mainstream and accessible to pretty much every app or communication device provider. So here we are. So why don't we just get started? So I'm inviting you right now to open iwillalwaysbeme.com from your smartphone, your tablet, your computer, on any browser, Chrome, Edge, Firefox. If you have a choice, do Chrome, but you can do the others, that's fine. And let's go through this process together, and I'll show you how to register, and I'll show you how to record the whole thing. All right, just going to switch my screens. All right, so I am on I Would Always Be Me. I'll just show you. I am, I'll just type in I will always be me.com. That's it, I will always be me.com. And there it is. I will always be me.com. And it says the book that banks your voice, created for people living with MND and their loved ones. Bank your voice. All right, I will. So the first thing is you need to specify what country you are living in. I live in England. Now, an important point for now, during this kind of trial period, seeing as we just launched I Will Always Be Me, I Will Always Be Me is available to people living with MD and professionals in the UK. That's England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and Scotland. If you live in England, Wales, Northern Ireland, the MND Association will fund voice banking for people with MND. And if you live in Scotland, MND Scotland will support voice banking for people with MND as well. So that's that. So I'll just type in my name. An email. Now the password, it needs to be 8 characters, which 1 lowercase, 1 uppercase, 1 number, 1 special character. Okay. Okay, I've done that. Now, slight difference between people living in MND registering and professionals. So if you're a person with MND registering, you click here. If you're a professional, you click here. There's very little difference, and you go through pretty much exactly the same process. But if you click on I'm a person with MND, a few additional questions around voice quality. So I'm just going to click on that. But if you're a professional, just click here and it'll get you to the same place. So person living with MND. The question here is on speech. So question here is, how is your speech? So just say how it is. And it's the reason why this has been asked is because Speak Unique, who are providing the voice banking technology, have something called voice repair. And that means for where speech has changed significantly, they can blend a person's speech with other voices from the same area, which are unaffected, to minimize the effect of the change and to still keep, as far as possible, the identity of the speaker. So kind of blending with healthy voices to minimize the effect of dysarthria, as it's called. So in my case, my speech has not yet changed. And I'm asked for a rough date of diagnosis. So I'll just, I don't know, put that there. And that's that. So I'll consent. Thank you, sign up. Won't bother saving anything. So just a couple of tips before we start. So let's have a look. First thing is find a quiet space and be comfortable. It's true, any noise can affect the recording. We want it as quiet as we can without too much echo. The good news is that everything you record is saved straight away. So you won't lose anything, and you can record the book, on different days. So if you decide I've had enough and come back another day, that's fine. Everything's saved. You come back and it'll take you back to where you were. No problem. And then it say, right, we need to check your microphone. Ideally, headset microphone connected by USB. That would be the best option. However, many modern smartphones and iPads and Android tablets have excellent microphones. So it's okay, but you need to keep it very quiet environment and try and keep a constant distance from the smartphone or the iPad and not kind of vary anything. So I have connected my headset, which I have plugged into my USB. And they just want to check how the microphone sounds. So I'll do that. You might get asked to just approve that the app can use the microphone. If you see that, just click on yes. And I'll press record and I'll just read. I'm about to read, I will always be me. I'm about to read, I will always be me. I'm about to read, I will always be me. So it played it back to me. I don't know if you heard it, but that sounded pretty good to me. So I'll say that sounds good. Thank you. So we're going to open the book now. We're almost there. And for people that have, voice banked with other folks and with other apps, it's quite refreshing. It's just like just register and go. And if I didn't talk so much, I'd have done it all in literally a minute, and then started banking my voice, literally in a minute. So a very quick guide on how to navigate the ebook. Just to say, read as you like. Just read it the way you want to read it. Sometimes people feel a little emotional with this story, and that's fine. Emotional speech is absolutely okay. If you make a mistake, that's fine. You can fix it there and then if you want to, or you can fix it at the end. Often people fix stuff at the end because they get into the flow of the story. And I've read this story a few times now, and I completely get that. So you can fix it at the end or fix it as you want at the time. There's a menu at the bottom, says click on start reading. And then you literally press start reading and start reading the book. And then to get to the next page, having read the line, just press continue. It'll keep recording. Don't worry, you just keep reading. If you want to go back to the previous page, you can, no problem, left arrow there. Or if you want to check where you are in the book, that's fine. Do that at any time, and then you can start reading again. So, are you ready? I'm ready. Let's do this. So I'm going to be reading the ebook to you. So I'm going to start reading. I'm going to show you straight away how to fix an error. So, and then later on, I won't do anything because I'll just get into the flow of the story for you. But it's really straightforward. So I'll start reading, I'll make an error, and then I'll fix it. I will always be me. Oops, I said that wrong. So I'll click on stop. And I'll read it again. I will always be me. Written by Jill Twiss, illustrated by Nicholas Stevenson. Everything is changing. Something feels different lately. I've been seeing a lot of doctors and having a lot of phone calls. So let me just go back. Let's see. I'm just going to listen to that, see what happened. Something feels different lately. I've been seeing a lot of doctors and having a lot of phone calls. Okay, that sounds pretty good to me. Let's see. Let's try and read that again. Something feels different lately. I've been seeing a lot of doctors and having a lot of phone calls. I'm not moving quite the same way I used to, and my voice sounds a little different. You see, right now, messages from my brain aren't getting to my muscles, and because of that, eventually my muscles will stop doing their jobs. So there are things I used to do that I can't do right now, and there are also things I can do right now that I might not be able to do later. Even so, I will still be happy on some days and grumpy on other days, just like anyone else. But I want you to know everything is changing except for how much I love big hugs and the feeling of fresh cut grass between my toes. And days where my hair goes just so and looks exactly like I want it to. Everything is changing. That means at some point I might need help from you to do the things I used to do myself. Like opening stubborn jars or reaching things on high shelves. I might trip or stumble, and then I will need your help to get back up. Sometimes I will even need help with the very same things that I used to help you with. Everything is changing except for how much I hate wet socks. And how much I love putting on warm clothes straight from the dryer. Or waking up before my alarm goes off and knowing I can snuggle up underneath the covers and sleep for a few more minutes. Now, you probably have some questions about all this, like, how fast will all these changes happen? Or why did this happen to you and not someone else? The thing about all this is there are usually more questions than there are answers. But here goes. We don't know how fast my body will change. Sometimes our bodies feel very different very quickly, and sometimes it can feel like nothing has changed at all. No one gets to decide how fast or how slow changes happen, or which part of our bodies will change first, while other parts are staying the same. And that last one is the hardest question, isn't it? We just don't know why this happened to me. I'll go back to reading. I'll listen to that one. And that last one is the hardest question, isn't it? We just don't know why this happened to me. Okay, I'll read it again. And that last one is the hardest question, isn't it? We just don't know why this happened to me. Every so often, these kinds of changes run in families, but mostly it is just something that happens and we don't know why. It doesn't feel fair, but that's the way it is. On the outside, at least, everything is changing. There might be times when it will be hard for me to speak, or when my words will sound different than they used to. My voice might start to change, or I might need to use a computer to help me say the things I want to. I might move in a way that you've never seen me move before, and eventually it could get harder for me to move without help. At some point, I might need a wheelchair to get around. But here's what's important. On the inside, I will still be me. I will still hear you when you talk to me and want to listen to your funniest stories and keep your most sacred secrets. I will still go to sleep and have wonderful dreams, dreams that you and I fly so fast and so high that soon we can see the entire world with all its glorious sunsets and annoying muddy puddles. And all the people who are so busy worrying about what might happen that they sometimes forget to notice what is happening. And then we fly even further out amongst the other planets, and we feel awed and small and unimportant, but also like we matter very much. And we see how tremendous it is that even in the hugeness of the universe, we have each other. And then we fly back home because we know that the important part isn't that we can fly, but that we are together. Everything is changing except for what makes me, me. I will still have silly thoughts like, do bananas ever get lonely when they're separated from the bunch? I will still watch my favorite television show or root for my favorite sports team and think I can change what happens just by glaring at the television and believing. Everything is changing, but I will still be me. I will still have strong opinions and give you my best advice when you ask for it, and sometimes when you don't. I will still notice when you get a new haircut, or when you're having a bad day, or how your eyes do that crinkly thing when I make you laugh. I will still think up ideas for inventions, like a device that tells you if a movie is going to be too sad for you, but also carries extra tissues in case you decide to watch it anyway. Or what about a time machine that makes the hour I spend waiting in line at the supermarket feel like 1 minute? But the hour I spend reading books with you feel like 7 years. Everything is changing except what makes me, me. Even if I look or sound different, I will still be thinking the same kinds of thoughts and wishing the same kinds of wishes. I will be thinking about picnics and fireworks and how sometimes when it's really dark and there are stars everywhere, I hold my breath because I don't want things to change even one bit. But mostly, I will be thinking about you. I might not do all the things I used to do. I might not move exactly the same. I might not sound exactly the same. And we might not get to tell our stories and dream our dreams together as long as we want to. But right now, I'm here with you, which is my favorite place to be. Yes, everything is changing, but I will always be me and I will always love you. So that is the story. And if I want to, I can review the recordings, click on review, and you can look at any of the stories, any of the pages and go back. I'll close it. I'm quite happy with that. And then I'm happy with the recordings. Actually, I'll just review one, just see what it's like. Just click on this one and listen to it. Or waking up before my alarm goes off and knowing I can snuggle up underneath the covers and sleep for a few more minutes. Lovely. Lovely. That looks great. Go back, close, and exit the book. Sorry, just exit the book. Oh, that's me. That's interesting, isn't it? Let's go back to the end. Complete voice banking. Sorry. So complete voice banking. And I'm happy. So when you're happy with recordings, continue to complete voice banking. I'll do that. Now, I'm going to click on that. Right. So we're on to the kind of page for recording the story. So what will happen now is that for people that would like to create the voice bank, they just need to create a few more details. If you do not want to bank your voice, that's fine. You can just skip and move on, and you could use the ebook, say, to share the ebook without doing voice bank. That's fine. But I will ask for my voice bank. So male, date of birth. country, my accent, I think, is London, but of course there are lots of different London accents, but I'll stick with London and I'll say process my voice. That's fine. So the voice recordings are now with Speak Unique, and they will create the voice bank, and then they will email you within a day or so with some samples of the voice bank and with details of how to access the voice banking account on Speak Unique, and details for how to download it. Now, what you can do is share the ebook with anybody you like, and what you have a private link. So just switch on the link, and you can share the ebook by just copying the link or sending an email, Facebook or Twitter, and you just email that to email the link to anyone, and they can listen and download, and it's just with them forever. If you don't want to share the link anymore, you just switched off. That's fine. Now, for anyone, and I'm thinking particularly of professionals too here, that if you'd like to share your version of reading the story, then this is with everybody, the general public, you can, and you don't need to say your name or anything. You could just say, kind of anon or anything you like. It doesn't have to be your name, and you can state a location. Doesn't have to be your location, could be a location, and your version of reading the story will be available to everybody to have a listen to how you read the story. And I think that's quite a nice thing. So, and that is that. So that probably took me, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes to read. We saw there were some things that the microphone didn't. There is some quality control that if the web page doesn't think that it's heard correctly, or that the quality is not good enough, it will ask you to check your microphone and say the phrase again. That's fine, which is what I did. I just moved my microphone slightly above my lips, and that worked out fine. So there is some quality control as we go through. So I'll just switch back to here. So that's it. So iwillawsbeme.com is available now and free to everybody living with MND in England, Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland, and to professionals in the UK. And if you have any questions or comments or anything, please do get in touch. richard.cave@mndassociation.org, or you can, or at Twitter at Speed of Trust 27, at Speed of Trust 27. I missed that off. Speed of Trust 27. Okay, I shall finish there, and thank you so much for listening.